I'm Charlie Brooker and you're watching Screenwipe, a programme all about television.
Britain has to be the moaning capital of the world. We moan about trains.
Bloody trains.
We moan about the weather.
Bloody weather.
And we moan about the ongoing breakdown of society.
Bloody ongoing breakdown of modern society.
In fact, you name it, we'll moan about it, which is presumably why TV consumer shows are still going strong.
The granddaddy of all consumer shows was That's Life, a heady mix of hardcore whinging and life-threatening whimsy, which started in 1776 and ran for 2 million years, during which time it was compulsory viewing for pop-eyed reactionary f***wipes everywhere. It was a show with something for everyone, provided you define everyone as people who snigger at vegetables that look like cocks. Mind you, the tomato's pretty funny looking too. Aside from incisive investigations into how many sodding peanuts you get in a marathon, it was also notable for its vaguely right-wing hue. Take, for instance, this satirical song from a 1973 edition, which cocks a snook at protesting lefty students.
I appreciate opinions if they coincide with mine. When I'm asked out to a party, then I toe the party line. And anyone who disagrees is just a fascist swine. So let's hear it for the children of the free. Rah, rah, rah for the British University.
It also featured light-hearted rape gags.
If there was one thing that Rubens liked, it was a good rape. And he was a beggar for big bazookas. I shall start you off with a mild rape that you can see in Munich. The Daughters of Leucippus. The two rapists on horseback are Castor. They are Castor and Pollux. I'll say that again, Castor and Pollux.
And had a pop at the roaring evil of free-range eggs.
The hens may be happier, but in terms of being healthy, there's no difference between free-range eggs and any other eggs. Tests have shown that even the most avid free-range egg supporters can't actually tell the difference.
Yeah, the hens might be happier, but then again, f*** God's creatures, right, viewers?
In health shops, free-range eggs cost 7p a dozen more.
Today, consumer gripes still get an airing thanks to programmes like Are We Being Served, an almighty whinge fest that sets out its stall from the off.
We've spent weeks investigating customer service in restaurants across the UK, and as you've told us in our special survey, it's a sorry tale.
Boo!
For this particular edition, the setup involves some bloke called Arkin going undercover in some down-market restaurants in an attempt to find things to whine about, and surprise, surprise, it doesn't take him long.
I'm not taking disorders. Otherwise you'll charge very complicated.
Well, that does seem a bit rude, hang on.
My gripe with this restaurant isn't the minimum spend. That's made perfectly clear at the bottom of the menu.
What?
I don't want to sound like a stroppy lover, but it's not what he said, it's how he said it.
Boo-hoo! Yes, it seems nothing less than snivelling deference will impress Arkin and his team. Well, that and having everything just so.
It's very noisy in here. There's a little comment on the back of the menu that asks, how are we doing? At the moment, not very well.
This is like the Blair Witch Project for Anyway, while Arkin's job is to pick holes, Julia takes to the streets to berate the British public for their disgusting complacency.
Bad service! Why do we put up with it? What is it about us Brits? Do you eat out in restaurants?
Yeah.
What happens when you don't get good service?
We don't tip them.
You don't tip them?
No.
So do you take the 12.5% service off the bill?
Very good point, no.
Ah, so you're still paying the service, really?
Yeah.
Which you shouldn't do.
Yeah, and you should also kick the waiter right in the f***ing nuts on your way out.
Well, you told them.
As the show unfolds, the moans keep piling up.
This woman's teed off because her daughter's been charged for an adult meal at a restaurant that decides who qualifies for a half-price kiddie meal based on their height. Thing is, it's made clear on the menu and on this sign.
Julie didn't notice that sign.
Well, it's Julie's fault then. It might be an idiosyncratic policy, but for God's sake, it's their restaurant. What's more, in my opinion, if you take a bunch of mewling kids to a restaurant, you should be charged triple and punched in the face every 5 minutes. Because kids in restaurants are a nightmare. They shriek, they puke, they run around, they smear food all over their stupid little faces. Actually, an undercover camera show that filmed children in restaurants and called them that I would watch.
Instead, Arkin pops up again with a squawking family to visit a bargain-priced eatery on a hellish bank holiday Monday to discover that, shock horror, it's not the Ivy.
Smile would have been nice. It's just not up to Arkin's standards. The food arrives, but still no smile. And the second waitress isn't exactly full of the joys of spring either.
Well, I can't imagine why. It must be really satisfying slaving away for peanuts in a cut-price chain restaurant full of moaning little bastards.
That chocolate extravaganza soon arrives and the kids are beside themselves. Shame about the waitress.
Barely a smile flickered on the face of the waitress that brought it over. She was like... And the kids are like, wow, look at that. She's like... And you think, what are you doing? You're missing the opportunity to engage with these people that are really excited about their food.
Oh, f*** you. The trouble with shows like this, I think, is that while there really are a billion things worth complaining about in this world, poor customer service isn't really one of them. Let's stop blowing each other up first, yeah? And then tackle the chain restaurants. And besides, I'd far rather eat in a place with grumpy staff who spit in your face than be served by a grinning android in a room full of joyless nitpickers like Arky.
Oh dear, that's not very good.
Now, Adam Buxton takes on the persona of legendary director Ken Corder as he takes you behind the scenes of ITV's brilliant The Mint.
Hello, I'm Ken Corder. I was the director, producer and head writer on this episode of The Mint, which you're watching now. Here comes Brian, arriving at Mint Mansion for another evening of phone frolics and word search fun. The inspiration for The Mint came to me one night back in 2004 when I was quite drunk on Raspberry Hooch, and it occurred to me, why aren't there more late-night shows on ITV that cater to drunk people and their low concentration needs? And I thought, bongo, if we can get enough drunk twats phoning in to try and win some money, not only will the show pay for itself, we'll make a load of money too, and that is what classic telly is all about. It's just a classic formula. You know, a gay man with a flowery shirt and a beautiful woman, all alone in a wonderful mansion, except for a few amazing celebrity guests, taking calls about a puzzle, you know? And that's something that everyone can relate to.
Can you spell that, please? P-E-S-O.
P-E-S-O. Peso, he thinks it is. Mope, pet, send, and sago. Good guess, but wrong, you thick twat.
Lots of people wonder how to get their ideas on the telly, so here's an upbeat little guide to why if you're lucky that'll never happen, and if it does, it'll be a nightmare. First of all, let's assume this man represents your idea.
Now, if it's possible to showcase your idea live or on the internet, then for God's sake do that before you even think about letting anyone in telly get their hands on it. If it succeeds, they'll beat a path to your door.
But say it's not practical or possible to do that, well, what else can you do?
Your best bet is to get a job in TV and after several months slaving in lowly positions, try to bag a job in development. Of course, the company you're working for has to make money to survive, so rather than creating anything worthwhile, you'll be working up an endless stream of shit ideas they hope will be an easy sell. Eventually, you throw caution to the wind and introduce your idea to your fellow creatives, and against the odds, they love it! Having boiled your idea down to a capsule description a child could understand, you approach your first port of call. You outline your idea to a commissioning editor and stone the crows he likes it. Well, sort of, because he also suggests a few changes. But they seem reasonable enough, so you incorporate them as best you can, then sit back and wait for a response. And you wait and you wait and you wait, and eventually you're told the commissioning editor has left, and his replacement reckons this whole cowboy hat thing renders the entire idea useless. Still under pressure to sell, you take your idea to a funky rival channel notorious for dangerous cutting-edge content. Here, another commissioner suggests it be fronted by up-and-coming comic Barry Shitpeas.
What about Barry?
Because he's being groomed as a future face of the channel. A few evenings later, you and Barry hook up for an evening to discuss the idea. He's got plenty of suggestions, every single one of which makes you want to vomit so hard your guts fly out your mouth and hit him in the eye, but instead you nod like a bitch. You work his changes into your original pitch, like the snivelling whore you are, and represent it to Captain Burstrings. Brilliant, he says, and informs you there's a commissioning round coming up and your idea's definitely on the shortlist. Once again, you wait and wait and wait and wait and wait until an email arrives telling you they decided to go with something completely different. By now, months have passed and your original idea's looking a bit stale, so in a pathetic bid to spruce it up, you work in some stupid fad you read about in a magazine that afternoon and take it to yet another channel, this time a major commercial hitter. They won't even consider it without a major name attached, so it's out with Barry Shitpeas and in with Ant and Dec. They also want to make your idea accessible to their imaginary audience of idiots, but by now you've lost so much dignity you're in a trance, so you just concur and nod and do as they say. That evening you have a nightmare in which you crouch in an alley giving blowjobs for pennies while the theme from This Is Your Life plays in the background. What could it possibly mean? It's still troubling you the next day as you sit in reception alongside someone with a similar idea which looks slightly better than yours. Finally, you're told, sorry, they've spent their budget for this round, there's no more slots, and they're trying to go up market, and your idea's just a bit too dumb. By now your job's on the line, the execs are screaming at you, and you don't give a f*** anymore about anyone or anything. So you call on some obscure satellite channel you've never even heard of and try and flog it to them. Here you're asked to literally rub shit all over your idea and turn it into a vehicle for some reality TV star.
But it's not even an idea you recognise anymore, and that's not the only problem.
No, because you've also got to cut all the best bits out of your idea because they want 150 episodes and they've only given you a budget of 27 pence. Worse still, you can't hire enough staff, so everyone involved in making it has to work insane hours that make them cry around the clock and despise you. Congratulations, you've become an exploitative telly scumbag. Eventually, your bastardised, rehashed idea finally makes it on air, at which point everyone who tunes in thinks it's shit!
Oh, don't believe it. Get off that fucking telly. Don't fucking waste my money.
Inevitably, the ratings crash through the floor, and then to cap it all, some smug, dough-faced Lawrence Fishburne lookalike on BBC 4 rips it apart using selective footage and witlessly puerile so-called criticism.
At the end of the day, this programme's a load of brought up by
And there lies your idea, dead as a dodo's doornail, messed around, shat on and despised. Was it ever any good to start with? Doesn't matter, because you will never, ever know. And that's exactly how TV works.
Anyway, as soon as I got the green light, it was just a question of attaching some talent. But we couldn't find any, so we went with Brian Dowling, from Big Brother, of course, and Beverly French from Nowhere. They're a joy to behold. Look at them. The chemistry between those two was very, very special. Nearly everything they said was gold dirt. I think people assume a lot of the stuff between Brian and Bev on the Mint was scripted, you know, but they improvised nearly all of it. Brian and Bev were as natural as being curious about dogging. It's like watching Richard Gere and Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman, except better, because you can win big cash prizes for the price of a 60p call, which you couldn't if you were watching Pretty Woman, of course.
Hello, Sue, how are you?
Also,
Thank you. Sue, are you
Beverly's apparently not a prostitute.
So do I.
Thanks to its popularity on DVD, Matt Groening's quirky and excellent Futurama has been resurrected after several years off. Good news for cartoon fans throughout the universe. So to celebrate, here's a look at some other animations available on Shiny Shiny Disc. First, La Linea, a charming 70s Italian cartoon which used to pop up at random intervals on BBC Two. Every episode revolved around an anonymous figure constructed from a single line, perpetually frustrated by his own animator. It's available on DVD if you go snooping around the German equivalent of Amazon and the like. Next, the anarchic, hilarious world of Tex Avery, possibly the finest cartoon director ever, responsible for countless laugh-out-loud moments. Thanks to the magic of the internet, you can order a superb box set of his work from France, and I command you to do so. Thirdly, Samurai Jack, a strikingly stylised labour of love from Powerpuff Girls creator Genndy Tartakovsky, which originally aired on the Cartoon Network. An odd blend of sci-fi and Japanese cinema, it's unique, funny and often weirdly hypnotic. Finally, a cartoon that isn't a cartoon but a video game, Loco Roco on the Sony PSP, which is brilliant. It's like playing your way through an obscure Spanish 70s animation with a smile on its face, and it's proof that anyone who says video games are less inventive than TV is a dribbling buffoon.
For this programme, I asked internet animator David Firth of fatpie.com to do us some animations. He did this.
Attention, young ladies. Sooner or later, you'll be stung by the bee of womanhood. Twice. And those little bee stings are going to need a couple of delicate nests to develop in. That's why we're here to offer Twinkle Tits training bras. Always a snug fit, that'll be Twinkle Tits. Our built-in stabiliser wheels should help you keep your balance with that new weight on board.
I'm all grown up now, Daddy.
Don't worry about crows coming down to peck your buds. At the touch of a button, shoot them down with a built-in rifle. It looks like he's crowing down. But don't be put off by the violence. We here at Twinkle Tits believe in reincarnation, so his soul will be in. Sorry, we're going to have to stop this right here. Our specialists ran it through the yes-no machine, and apparently it's not up to standards.
Imagine a world run by children. What would that be like, eh? Well, actually, you don't have to imagine it. There's a computerised reconstruction running on Channel 4.
The Ute focus of Hollyoaks sets it apart from the other soaps. While they seem to be set in some unspecified period of the past, Hollyoaks is set very slightly in the future, in a suburb of Chester twinned with Logan's Run.
In fact, sometimes it's so futuristic it looks like a video game, specifically the video game The Sims.
Seriously, this is the bloody Sims! Look at it! Look!
Apparently there's a cheat code somewhere that lets you play as Phil Mitchell.
What's more, to my wizened old eyes, the cast looks so young they're practically fetuses.
Oh yeah, like he has to shave. Teens being teens, a lot of the talk in Hollyoaks revolves around sex, although because it goes out in a pre-watershed slot, they have to resort to euphemism.
Maybe I'll give you a hand.
Sounds good.
You might need a big strong boy to pass you a drill.
Or someone to give me a nice, long, firm raw plug.
Can't wait.
Yeah, and then you can come all over my chisel. There are a few grown-ups, but they only seem to be there to be bothered by the cast of teen toddlers.
Get a room. Oh, for heaven's sake, we're only talking.
Is this where you worked?
Will you just turn that off and put it down?
Why don't you take a break?
You go. You haven't even had your lunch yet.
Mom. It's not just the cast who are modern, so's the direction. It's full of musical sequences and whizzy camera work.
Right, that is it.
Whoa.
I knew you'd call me back. I just knew it. It's all fixed. All you have to do is turn up at the prison. 1 o'clock on Monday.
I think I once saw something like that projected at an Orbital gig. It doesn't help that they've also hired an anthrophobic cameraman who can't bear to stand in the same room as the cast themselves.
My exam? Yeah, it went great, thanks.
Anyway, one of the worst things about Hollyoaks is the incidental music, which is incredibly annoying. Sometimes it's too much for the characters themselves to bear. Despite its youth, Hollyoaks feels strangely airless and empty, with lots of echoey sound and underpopulated locations. That's not their fault really, that's just a low budget. Sometimes it feels a bit like a non-broadcast pilot that's been running for 11 years by mistake, and it has moments that even its most ardent fan couldn't describe as, well, wicked. I can't even do that thing.
We've been waiting ages for you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So why the no-show?
I didn't feel very well.
You were fine before I left here, so what's wrong with you now?
Look, please, just leave it.
Look, I want to know what's wrong with you.
Do I really have to spell it out for you?
No, Mercedes is going to ask me. I mean, I don't want my little sister looking like she couldn't care.
My period.
Right. Well, I'm sorry. Can I get you...
No.
I'll be right.
I loved the celebrity interview moments on the show. I remember one researcher, rather unpleasant, cynical young chap, saying, "Oh, but the show's on so late. You know, the only guests you're going to get are Z-list celebs trying to plug their old crap," which turned out to be true. But occasionally, there were still some extraordinary moments. And this scene with Scott Lee is one of them, of course.
Can I see?
Now, she and Brian were old chums. You can tell by the way they're getting on. It's a very friendly atmosphere. So I guess her guard was down. And that's when she revealed that her new single, Never or Now, was quite different for her. Quite rocky.
It's quite different for me, actually. It's quite rocky. So, yeah.
Everyone was just gobsmacked when she said that. I don't think anyone could really believe what they'd just heard. You know? The last thing anyone had expected was for Lisa's new single to be quite rocky. And I could see that Brian was devastated because he hates rock. But it's a classic moment where Brian just comes into his own and carries on, almost as if nothing's happened. And he's even dancing there. But you can tell that he's dying inside.
In the last few years, lots of fearsome mythical monsters have returned to our screens. King Kong, the Daleks, and most recently dragons in BBC Two's televised entrepreneurial bloodsport Dragon's Den.
These are the dragons, the multimillionaire investors on their way to the den.
Alright, let's stop there, okay? They're not dragons, they're people, and it's not a den, it's a room. They should have called it People's Room. Actually, judging by most of the investors, they should have called it Bastard's Hole instead. Partly because it's a much better title, but mainly because as soon as you see how rich they are, you can't help shouting bastard at the screen.
Take Peter Jones, played here by a blind Terminator who's so loaded he actually needs a chauffeur to drive him round his money.
Today, his £250 million empire
Bastard!
includes leisure.
This opening sequence is shot to resemble a trailer for a Tarantino heist movie. It's essentially the sort of thing businessmen see in their mind's eye when they reach orgasm. Well, apart from this bit, obviously. The other new dragon this series is cube-headed Australian Richard Farley. He joins returning dragons Theo Paphitis, seen here teleporting around a warehouse in order to confuse a cameraman, and Duncan Bannatyne, who waits. That's what he does. Tick follows tock, follows tick, follows tock, follows tick.
The show itself is basically a sort of X-Factor for crackpot inventors in which the dragons, or bastards, line up against a wall, stroking piles of their own money, while an endless stream of suited beggars tackles a set of difficult stairs and then tackles another set of difficult stairs. Yes, the dragons are difficult to please. In fact, they couldn't be more intimidating if they were sitting there with their dicks hanging out. Especially her. Little wonder so many of the wannabes go to pieces quicker than a leper in a wind tunnel.
As you can see, it's a designer-looking coffee table, but it's so much more than a designer-looking coffee table.
Yeah, it's also handy for covering up unsightly piles of wire.
Capable of delivering multiple functionality, including digital TV, whether it's live or recorded TV. Audio.
Well, come on, carry on. I don't think they noticed that. That's it. Say what you like about this guy, okay? He is a good inventor of new words.
For the home environment, where for the disconcerting home professional.
Hi.
Hi.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious.
Serious to the point of incoherence, it seems.
Whilst you're watching TV that is being generated from the coffee table on your plasma screen, you also have the ability to actually still surf the internet, so the two screens work independently.
Your modern nonsense has angered the dragons.
Have you any idea how many times the amusement industry has attempted to reintroduce tabletop machines?
Is it a sort of hay?
They have been tried to be introduced 4, 5, half a dozen times, completely unsuccessfully.
The maiden's testiness arouses the dragons.
Have one of these, you remember.
Inevitably, one by one, the dragons pull out of the deal.
I'm out.
I'm out. I'm out.
But not before offering some sage advice.
Please tell me you're not going to give up your life to go and develop this further.
I'm actually in the process of selling my house to actually...
Your what?
That's all right, his house is only worth 16 quid.
Nick, I felt for you.
Having been force-fed a mouthful of bastard pie, the hapless entrepreneurs are consoled by world's tallest teddy bear Evan Davis, who also gives them a chance to answer back.
I'm selling the house regardless. I'll go to market, I'll create the orders, and they'll be kicking themselves.
Using my next invention, the self-kicking machine. It's not always that one-sided. Occasionally the punters come up with something the dragons genuinely want to invest in, at which point the atmosphere changes completely and the show becomes almost unbearably tense.
Theo Paphitis has made the best offer, and now he pushes home his advantage.
You're not just getting £150,000 for 40%. You're getting my time, effort, knowledge, know-how.
This is like a scene from a gangster movie.
Sometimes life is about timing. I'm sure you know that.
Is he going to shoot them?
You could end up being too late. Something could happen.
Oh, we wouldn't want anything to happen now, would we?
But look at the margins, they're so high.
Uh-oh.
Let me just tell you about margins. Nothing is forever.
Human life, for instance.
Margins get squeezed. Please, I've seen it, I've done it.
You're a dead man.
I do appreciate the offer, but I'm afraid I'm going to turn it down. I think you made him a good offer.
I do. I hope he doesn't live to regret it. I hope he doesn't live to regret it.
You hope he doesn't live? Ultimately, Dragon's Den may be one of the cruelest things on television, but then that's quite fitting, really, because business is one of the cruelest things on earth, after me.
Have you ever watched the end credits of a TV programme and wondered what all those people actually do? Well, no, nor have I, but apparently they do this.
Heads you win, tails you lose. You pay your dues, 'cause that's what it's all about. Break or bust, cake or crust, yeah, that's life. Some make hay, some make do. It's up to you to stand up or crawl about. Sure it's rough, sure it's tough, but that's life. Most of us live lives of folly, smiling through thin and thick. One or two may get the lolly, while others are left simply holding the stick. State your case, make your pitch. Life's a bitch if you let it get to you. That's your lot, it's all you got. It's the name of the game. Yeah, that's life. Heads you win, tails you lose. You pay your dues, 'cause that's what it's all about. Break or bust, cake or crust, yeah, that's life. Some make hay, some make do. It's up to you to stand up or crawl about. Sure it's rough, sure it's tough, but that's life. Most of us live lives of folly, smiling through thin and thick. One or two may get the lolly, while others are left simply holding the stick. State your case, make your pitch. Life's a bitch if you let it get to you. That's your lot, it's all you got. It's the name